Hello and welcome. Fresh off of its debut from the 2023 Shanghai International Auto Show, this is the Zeekr X, a premium compact electric SUV that's set to go on sale in the European market by the end of 2023. But thankfully, you don't have to wait that long to learn all about it because we're going to show you. Let's get started. I suspect that the exterior styling on this car is going to be, well, a little bit controversial. Maybe you're going to love it, maybe you're going to hate it. Personally, I fall into the love it side of the spectrum. I think that it's one of the most unique and interesting designs, even if it does elicit a whole lot of Lynk & Co. and maybe some other Zeekr models. In fact, that's always been the problem with the Zeekr brand. They never felt like they had their own individual design language. The first Zeekr, the 001, was actually originally a Lynk & Co. concept car, and then the second Zeekr, the 009, was, well, seemingly from an entirely different planet. This is the first time that I feel like they've got kind of their own style, even though it still looks like a Lynk & Co. Still, I think that there's some interesting commonalities between this and the 009 specifically. Take, for example, these LEDs, which are separated by black plastic. I'm sure in the dark they're going to look very, very cool, much like the interesting shape of the ones on the large 009 MPV. As I mentioned in the intro, the Zeekr X is marketed as a premium compact vehicle, but the price isn't so premium. $27,500 to $33,000 US here in the Chinese market. No word on what it'll be in Europe. As such, they did have to make some concessions when it came to the technology as compared to the more expensive Zeekr models, the 001 and the 009. Gone is the double wishbone front suspension, is in its place is a McPherson strut. Perhaps it also goes without saying that this thing doesn't have available air suspension like those other cars. The vehicle's length of 4.45 meters makes it almost the exact same size as the all-new Smart No. 3, but that's not the only thing shared by these two vehicles. Geely, the owners of the Zeekr brand, also happen to have a 50% stake in Smart. The other 50% is, of course, owned by Mercedes-Benz. They're in charge of the exterior and interior styling, while Geely is in charge of the development and production. As such, those cars share the same architecture, the SEA, or Scalable Experience Architecture. That architecture also underpins a bunch of other vehicles, including the Polestar 4 and 5, the new Volvo EX30, and the Lotus Electre. But wait, there's more. The Zeekr also uses the same powertrains as Smart models, meaning a rear motor version making 200 kilowatts and 343 newton meters of torque, or a dual motor version with 315 kilowatts and 543 newton meters, aka the powertrain found in the Smart Brabus. The smooth sides of the Zeekr X are hiding a few secrets, starting with this B-pillar here, which has a little LED screen embedded in it. It's not a touch screen, but it can display information. For example, the car is currently in pet mode, which obviously keeps the air conditioning on so your pet can stay in the car comfortably while you're gone. It also has a movie theater mode where it lays down the seats, and it will display a little icon here for that as well. This can also be used to show things like the charge status when you're charging the vehicle and other features. Also hidden on the side is the charge port. There isn't really an obvious door until you do this, and it pops open like that. I mentioned that I thought the styling of this vehicle would be a little controversial, and nowhere is that more true than here on the rear. If you look from the side, I think it pokes out a little bit like a Renault Megane. You tell me what you think. But in order to open this rear hatch, we have to hit this very subtle button below the Zeekr logo, like such. Electrical hatch, of course. Inside is not an incredibly impressive amount of space. As you'll see, a lot of that space has been given to the passengers instead of the cargo, but there are a couple of interesting things to point out. First of all, there is some area underneath for increased storage space, actually a pretty surprising amount. And I want to talk about this parcel shelf right here because the design is actually pretty clever. Instead of having to take it off and put it in your house or just lay it down here, you can actually do this. You pop it loose. If I can do it right, there we go. and then swing it that way, pop it in place, Velcro shut, and it's out of the way. Pretty clever. I was excited to learn that the Zeekr X had a frunk until I saw it. Very small, 21 liters. Not particularly useful, but it does have, underneath, a little tire repair kit. The price of this car might not scream premium, but it does have some premium features, starting with how you get into the vehicle. This car has electronically operated doors. No door handles, of course. You just hit this black button here on the B pillar, and the door will open completely on its own. On the back door here, it only has electronically opening, so you hit the button there, then you use your hand to pull it open. Once you step into the vehicle, to close the door, you either hit this button here on the door, or you hit the brake pedal. There are also a lot of premium features here on the interior, most of which are standard. Take, for example, the 13-speaker Yamaha sound system, 14.6-inch center screen, digital instrument cluster, which is mounted to the steering column, by the way, so it won't be blocked by the steering wheel, and a 24.3-inch AR HUD. And that's before we get into some of the details, which are very interesting. Take, for example, the center screen, which is also a passenger screen as well. That's right, if I swipe with 4 fingers that way, it will slide to the right. If I swipe with my 4 fingers again this way, it will come back to the center. Or I can long press one of the buttons on the back of the steering wheel, like so, and it will return to its position in the middle. That's not the only thing that will move in this car either. The center console also moves. See this button here on the side? As you can see, there's a plus or minus, top or bottom. That, by the way, is a volume control. Either you as the driver can use or the passenger. But this, forward and backwards, is exactly what it sounds like. This center console is currently in the forward position, but if I hit this button like so, it will slide backwards into the rearward position. That makes it easier for rear passengers to access the refrigerator. We'll talk more about that refrigerator when we sit in the back seat, because it's not actually just a refrigerator. But first, I want to talk a little bit about this design of the front, especially this center console. Not only does it move back and forth, it's also got a very interesting kind of modular way that it works. First of all, this flips up, which makes it easier to access this storage area underneath. Here you have a cup holder. This top opens up. Now you've got 2 cup holders, or a cup holder and a storage area. And this is also removable as well if you simply need more space. In front of that is 2 charging ports. That's Type-C charging ports. 27 watt on the left, 60 watt on the right. And in between is a little pop-out kind of hook. It's actually indicated here that it can be used to hold a bag, which I assume be pretty useful for. I've come over to the passenger side of the vehicle because I want to show you some of the features that are only available over here when you pick the 4-seater version of this car, which this is. This isn't available on the 5-seater. What is this? Well, this is a ton of adjustability when it comes to the passenger side seat. As you saw, there is this leg rest, which you can also move forward as well. There's adjustability top to bottom, though. The headrest, the shoulders, the back support, even a vibrating function that acts as a massage. Unlike a massage in other cars where it kind of slowly punches you, this one physically vibrates you, both on the bottom cushion and on your low back. It's quite a nice feeling. And finally, this part is available in the 5-seater. This is called the zero gravity mode. Hold on, let me hit it one more time. Ah, here we go. This is incredibly comfortable. It does feel much more relaxing than sitting upright. The rear cargo area of the Zeekr X might not be huge, nor is the frunk, but that's because this thing has a bit of a secret. If you hit the electric buttons on either side here, the seats will retract up, giving you much more space to put things. But you're thinking right now, that center console is right in the way. Well, if you remove some hand-tightened little bolts like this, you can actually take the center console out. And there's a special area under the rear cargo area where you can store it. What that leaves you is quite a large and mostly flat space to put things. now that we're finally sitting back here, I've got some bad news for you. I've just found out that all of the test cars we're driving today don't actually have the refrigerator installed in them. When they do have the refrigerator installed, and again, it is standard on the 4-seater, it will be able to keep things as cold as negative 15 degrees Celsius and as warm as 50 degrees Celsius. That's why I mentioned it's not just a refrigerator, it can also keep things hot. What I think is even cooler, because I've seen refrigerators and kind of heaters in other cars, is the fact that this one is modular. What I mean is that when you get somewhere and you want to take your hot or cold things with you, you hit this button up here, then you pull this handle, and the whole thing, there we go, comes with you. That's right. You get to take the cooler with you wherever you go. Putting aside things like the refrigerator that you can take with you, which, by the way, doesn't have a handle. You just kind of have to hold it under your arm, I guess. The rest of the interior and back here is actually quite good. There's a lot of stuff going on in the middle. There is a storage area here in the 4-seater, which you guys already saw. There's a fold-down center armrest with cup holders and dual USB ports, a Type-C and a Type-A. In terms of space, quite a bit of headroom because of this big overhead glass, which also lets in a lot of light, and legroom is quite decent considering the size of this vehicle. Overall, very comfortable. Despite outweighing the Smart Barabbas by nearly 100 kilograms, the performance version, the dual-motor 4-seat version of this car, offers a slightly faster 0 to 100 km/h time of 3.8 seconds. The 5-seater, by the way, is 3.7 seconds. Now, that's not especially significant, but what is significant is the difference between the rear motor